All right, so I'm going to talk to you guys about the LABikeMap today. I already was here one time before and talked about the LABikeMap, but we were just getting started. And so we thought we'd follow up. And maybe, since we have a lot of time, if people want to come up afterward, we can actually show you how to use it. So I can train every one of you, and after we leave today, anybody that wants to can be sufficiently sophisticated in this so that they can use it themselves and train other people to use it. So I'm just going to I'll run through an introduction to that later, update on how it's been used, and then if people are interested, we can do little trainings while everybody else is eating and talking. But so this is like my gigantic business card. Like, wouldn't you love to be able to give people your business card like this? So you just put it on the wall. But I'm president of Bikeside, which is a collaboration between me and Stephen Box and Itzy Box and Eric Newson and Sarah Bond and Jeremy Grant and a bunch of other people. And Max is getting involved. I've been involved with Bike Rave, I co-founded it, I'm the treasurer. And I just got elected to the Mar Vista Community Council. And my claim for life is that I'm a naysayer. So that's who I am. So first I want to just show you guys some new data on biking in Los Angeles. And this is kind of an indirect way of getting to what the purpose of the bike map is. So this is, this is actually biking in New York City. This is the all the screen line counts in New York City for like, how many years is that? I can't count. It's
20
like,
years.
Yeah, this is like 29 years of data, although you can see it's kind of iffy right here, and then they change it here. And if we had a super awesome projector, you could tell that this is, well, you can't tell, but this is a different color green, and that's basically. But what the screen line counts is they go to different bridges or different streets, and they count all the cyclists that pass through the bridge or pass across this particular cordon on a street. And you can see that New York City is just going berserk. They're just, their cycling has been growing like crazy. And you know, they had some downward drift in some years, right? But overall, it's just exponential. And so that's the pattern of the growth of cycling in New York City. So anybody want to speculate on how collisions or injuries or fatalities have changed when this has changed?
Gone down?
Flat for fatalities, down for injuries.
What did you
Flat
say?
for fatalities, down for injuries.
Okay, well, great. You guys are too smart for your own good. You're supposed to say it went up, but yeah, you're right. It went down. This is the latter half of that graph, right? This starts in 1991. This starts in 1980. So this is from here, or maybe not even the latter half, but the latter 2/3. This is severe injuries and fatalities in this interval, and you can see that severe injuries have just drifted downward, and then they're kind of bottoming out, if we had to take a guess. And fatalities have kind of been even, grown a little bit. Notice that this is not 300 fatalities. The fatalities scale is over here, right? The 25 fatalities in 07. So New York City has seen enormous growth in cycling and an enormous decline in severe injuries and fatalities, which means that the risk, which is the severe injuries per cyclist, as it were, whether it's cyclist mile or cyclist trip, has gone way down, right? Because it's this graph divided by the other one. If you looked at the risk would just be plummeting. So risks for cyclists in New York City have gone down. So here's a question to you guys. What do you think the pattern has been for cyclists in Los Angeles, or cyclists countywide?
Going up?
It's about the same.
You'd say that risk is probably going downward, or you think the risk is staying the same?
Risk is staying the same, but the number's going up.
Fatalities have actually declined a little bit. I remember it was 27 in the county, and now it's 21 last year.
So, and you can see that fatalities is one of those numbers where it,
yes,
because it's a
so
small
it is
number,
fluctuating, yeah.
There's a lot of noise in it.
But I imagine that injuries might be a little bit higher because at least cars hate you.
By the way, this whole curved line thing is abject, but anyway. I look at it, it's ugly. Well, so here's the thing, is that we don't know.
Yeah, that's right.
This is, nobody's ever done this before to my knowledge. This is all the bike-involved collision in the city of LA for last 10 years of data that we have. So we don't have 09 yet. And talking to CHP, they say we won't have 09 until 11. So but this is the site bike-involved collisions for the city of LA. And as you can see, especially if you just ignore, like let's say I stand over here and I just sort of obscure this 08 number, it just looks kind of flat, right? So what does that mean? I mean, we don't actually know what that means because do we have screen line counts? Do we have a way that we measure the number of cyclists in the county of LA?
We have anecdotal evidence that shows that bicycling has increased a lot, especially when gas prices really jumped up.
Well, so I will argue with your anecdotal evidence.
Okay.
Because I think that looking at this data, and this is just a really brief counter-argument, I think that a lot of the workforce cyclists in LA are in South LA, and if you look at the accident data, and we'll see this later, the hottest spot in all of LA is south of USC, in the neighborhoods where most workforce cyclists we think live, right? I would argue that during the economic boom, a lot of those people were able to get off bikes and start carpooling or whatever. So I think that while we may have seen a growth in the cycling culture, we may have actually seen a decline in the overall numbers of cyclists because I would suggest that that workforce cyclists until recently made up the majority of cyclists in LA. So if we see a decline in workforce cyclists, even if we see a big growth in other types of cyclists, anyway, this is a suggestion that possibly cycling has actually remained level up through 07 or 08, and then maybe we see a growth. We don't know yet. But here's what I'd say. We don't know how many cyclists there are in LA, and that's a problem, and it's something we got to solve. And I wish that DOT was in the room because they need to hear it. And we can't assess risk until we know how many people are riding. So we have a real problem in LA with that. I'll just show you a couple other graphs. This is all collisions in the city of LA. So while cycling collisions look flat, you can see that it looks like all collisions in the city of LA are declining. And this is LAPD, CHP, everything. So motorists are better off than they used to be, and the situation appears to be improving. Now that could be a change in reporting, who knows?
It could have been traffic went down in the recession a little bit.
Right, right. Although that wouldn't really register, right? Because the recession started. It's the last quarter of 08.
Was the,
Well, you also have high gas prices too.
Yeah.
Yeah, but when did we see the decline in vehicle miles traveled? It was like the last quarter of 08, wasn't it?
This summer. Yeah.
Well, it's hard to know. Well, and here's another philosophical question. When congestion in a city like LA where it's very congested, when total vehicles on the road goes down, when traffic goes down, traffic speeds up. So does that mean automatically a decline in the number of collisions? I don't know. In a way, congestion can be safer. So this is just one more. This is bike-involved collisions as a percentage of all. So we're dividing the first graph by the second graph. We're just looking at, what percentage of collisions are bike-involved. And again, there's not really a big pattern other than 08, and so it looks like there's a big uptick in cycling in 08, but it's really, it's inconclusive till we see the 09 figures would be what I say. Although, wasn't 08 the year when it didn't rain almost the entire year? So that's another thing, if we have less days of rain. Anyway, so we don't have a lot of data, and we need more data. And so we had 13,761 cyclist-involved collisions in the last 10 years. So 1,300 here, yeah.
I was just wondering the data, because SWTRS only looks at injury-involved collisions. So is this the?
No, it's everything.
Okay.
SWTRS looks at. In fact, there's a column like, is there complaint of pain or was there visible injury? Okay. So they actually take it's all police reports on traffic collisions.
Okay.
So this would be purportedly. Now we know that cops, like we had this thing that happened a few weeks ago where Roadblock witnessed this hit and run under the definition of law, where this woman caused a cyclist, the cyclist was in the bike lane, the woman pulls out into the bike lane. We all know how this one goes down, right? Mm-hmm. And then you're trying to avoid them, and then you go head over the handlebars and eat shit. And there was never any contact, right? When Roadblock brought the woman back to the scene and flagged down the cops, LAPD initially refused to take a report. And it took us a bunch of hammering, and it took us basically talking to Sergeant Krumer, who'll be here later, to get a report filed. So we know that LAPD, and I suspect all law enforcement agencies, continue to refuse reports, right? So who knows if this is how accurate